Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Rick, and I'm here with the third week of April's review videos. Trying to catch up with these more, so I've recently watched these. I'm recording this on, I believe, the 28th of April. So it's all stuff I watched basically in the last 2 weeks. And then what I'm going to do for my fourth video is basically take everything I've watched from April 22nd and go through to the end of the month. That'll be part 4. In that video, like I said, I will do my hot trash of the month as well as my surprise of the month. So we're going to dive right in here. The first movie that we're going to talk about is one that was not very high on my to watch list. However, if you guys watch my live streams, you'll remember John Hine sent a donation to my channel via PayPal to push this movie to the top of the pile. And we watched it. We actually watched it with RJ, although he lost interest rather quickly. And that is Man of Steel 3D. And this is actually one of the reasons why I'm not rushing out this video, but recording it sooner than later. This movie is not making my shelves. So Man of Steel, I should start by saying I'm not a huge fan of Superman. The character of Superman doesn't do it for me. I haven't seen Smallville. I haven't seen Lois and Clark TV show. I haven't seen the Christopher Reeve movies. I've seen Batman vs. Superman. I've seen Man of Steel, and I've seen Justice League. I'm familiar with his character. I'm familiar with, villains in his universe. I'm not a fan of the Superman character. So I dove into this open-minded. And I think Henry Cavill is a good Superman. I don't mind him as Superman. I think he's entertaining. However, there's a lot of issues with this movie. There's the out-of-nowhere love story. And then the thing that's usually not an issue for me, the entire last, 70 minutes of this movie is huge action set piece after huge action set piece. And usually I would love that. I'd love an hour plus of action. In this movie though, I found the action to be boring. I found the CGI to be pretty mediocre to eh. I just was not a fan of the movie. The climax also felt very repetitive, like the same stuff was happening in different locations. And I was actually fighting to stay awake during the last hour when it's nonstop action, which probably doesn't say a lot of good about this movie. Like I said, it's not making my shelf. My buddy is buying this from me, and we're going to do a social distance exchange tomorrow. And this is going to him. It is not making my shelf. It's something I would never watch again or want to watch again. Now I've seen all the DCEU movies from Man of Steel up until, what's the most recent thing? Shazam? I'm probably forgetting about a major, Birds of Prey. So I've seen all, the DCEU starting at Man of Steel on. When compared to Marvel, it's just not a competition, DCEU to Marvel. I think DC, for the most part, are this to good movies, but overrated stuff. And I think Shazam is the top of the DCEU so far. But with that being said, I give this a 1.5. Not making my shelf. Not something I need to dive into again. And then the next thing we watched, this was during a week I had RJ. We decided to pop in Major Pain. I know my buddy Joe Martinez and Marie recently have dove into this and really enjoyed it. So I haven't seen this in a very long time, since I was a younger man. So dove into it, and it was his first viewing. Bridget and I have seen Major Pain before, and I thought the humor held up pretty well in the movie. The movie is very 90s. It has a very 90s feel. There's, the 90s dance scene and what do I want to say? Montage in the movie. But Damon Wayans is a lot of fun to watch in this movie as the lead, Major Pain. And watching him as the lead and having the kids basically in ROTC train and try to get them the bond as like a family. It was enjoyable. So I give this man, I have like marble mouth. I give this a 3 out of 5. It's a fun watch. Definitely staying on the shelf. It's a fun watch for sure. The next thing we watched, I had out of order, is a first time watch for me. I think a first time watch for RJ, but not for Bridget. And I don't know why I didn't dive into this sooner. And that is Holes, this being the Disney Movie Club exclusive. This was a great movie. Shia LaBeouf is the lead character. And it's basically about a boys' camp, although it's more like a prison camp. They basically have to dig holes. And it's about the brotherhood, the bonding between the kids, and it's definitely rough in parts for Shia LaBeouf being new there. But this is one of a few Shia LaBeouf movies I have not or had not seen. So I was glad to dive into that. And the kid actors were great in this movie. And Cleo Thomas, who plays Zero, was fantastic in the film. Probably right up there with Shia LaBeouf, in my opinion. And I'm just mad I haven't watched this sooner. It was a great movie. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely something I will revisit in the future that I really enjoyed. Glad I bought from the Disney Movie Club. Next is a childhood favorite of mine that I wanted to show to RJ and Bridget for the first time, and that is Vice Versa, starring Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold. So fun fact about this movie is it came out in 1988, the same year that Big, probably my favorite body swap movie of all time, came out. They came out 3 months apart, so basically a very similar situation. Where Fred Savage and his dad, who's a businessman, they're spending time together. He's staying with his dad. His parents are divorced, and they swap bodies. Fred Savage is now in his dad's body and is all, wants to play instruments and have fun. And then Judge Reinhold, no, that's not how this works. Judge Reinhold's personality goes into Fred Savage. So Fred Savage is going to school and he's all proper and uptight and everything. And then Fred Savage goes into his dad's body and he's all about playing instruments and having fun. And it's just, the whole how do we swap back, and they become closer in the movie. I think it's a lot of fun. It's definitely not the greatest movie in the world, but it's a fun watch. It's a good body swap movie. I give it a 3 out of 5. I would definitely recommend it. It's PG, but it's PG in 88, so there is some language, but, I think it's pretty family appropriate for like a 10-year-old and up, in my opinion. So 3 out of 5, Vice Versa, fun watch. Next, a first time watch for me. And the last thing we watched while RJ was here that week, and it is Mulan, the original, the first Mulan, not Mulan 2. Have not watched that. Haven't heard great things, but I'd never seen Mulan. I'm not very excited about the live action Mulan, but figured I should at least check out the animated one to see what it's all about. I know people love the movie. So I enjoyed Mulan. I thought it was well done. Has a nice tight, like 90-minute runtime, which a lot of Disney movies pre, 2005 seem to have. Mushu, played by Eddie Murphy, was fantastic. The fact that Mushu's character isn't in the live-action Mulan worries me about that movie for sure. But I'm a little more intrigued to watch the live-action Mulan. I'm sure it'll be a 2-hour movie, even though this was an hour and a half. But it seems like they could have more drawn-out war scenes and training sequences. However, I feel like the humor not being there is going to hurt the movie more than help it. But I enjoyed this nonetheless. I would probably watch it again. Mulan 2, I might check out at some point. I'm not super excited. It's only 79 minutes, so it would be an easy watch. But I gave Mulan a 3.5 out of 5. Staying on the shelf. The next thing was Dark Waters. I don't physically have that to hold because we got it from DVD.com. Speaking of which, oh, never mind. Just kidding. I am all over the place. So Dark Waters is starring Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway, and it's the story of Rob Bilott, who basically works for a law firm, and they represent a lot of the bigger clients, environmental clients and stuff. And the movie is about his battle against a massive company, DuPont, and them polluting water sources, and he forms a relationship with a client who's, showing his cows are just dropping dead, hundreds of cows. And I don't want to go too far into it, but as a movie I recommend everyone should watch. It affects nearly everyone in the world, especially in the United States, which is probably why a lot of people don't want to watch it, because it's scary that this is real and it's affecting all of us. It's a really well done movie. It was very interesting. It was 2 hours long and it kept me intrigued throughout. Great performances, and I think it's a movie that should be seen and should be shared. Dark Waters, I really enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely something I would recommend. The next thing we watched, Bridget and I checked out White Squall. She really enjoys this movie. I had never seen it. I got it at Second Charles recently. And this is basically a coming-of-age movie. Takes place in the 60s about a group of kind of like prep school students who are spending a summer abroad, basically, but not technically abroad. They're basically sailing on the ocean, forming a brotherhood, learning the ins and outs of the sea. They're all supposed to be like, I want to say like 15 to 17. It stars Ryan Felipe, Jeremy Sisto, Scott Wolf, other familiar faces in the crew. And then Jeff Bridges is the captain of the boat. And it's one of those movies where as it's going on, I'm just like, I'm expecting it. Something's going to happen. Like the movie just, everything's too smooth. And then probably about 3/4 of the way through, that act 3 hits and the movie gets very intense. I thought it was a very entertaining watch. Not the greatest film ever, but definitely an entertaining watch, and I enjoy it. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It will make the shelf. It will stay on the shelf, so that is good to hear, or good to know. Next is a movie that I had talked about. A lot of people said in the comments, like when I picked it up, you need to watch this. I think you'll really like it. And that is Valley Girl on DVD. And I was pleasantly surprised by this. Bridget had recommended that we grab this and that I check it out. And so when I dove into this movie, I was taken by surprise because I thought this was like maybe like a PG-13, like 80s romance comedy. And then like 20 minutes in, there's a topless girl, and definitely stuff that's not PG or PG-13. Didn't realize till then it was a rated R movie, which doesn't really matter, but it just like took me by surprise. Like even watching the trailer, was not expecting it to be an R-rated like film. I thought Nicolas Cage was great in the movie. What else did I put here? Oh, the other thing I thought was kind of funny was in the beginning when you're meeting the main character, played by Deborah Foreman, and you're meeting her friends, I actually recognized the one girl right away when I saw her face from the movie Dutch. And this was from '83 and Dutch was '91. So it was 8 years later and she still had the same, like, she looked exactly the same in my opinion. So I pointed her out. And the music is great in the movie, exactly what I would expect. I'd like to probably upgrade this to Blu-ray at some point. This will stay on the shelf for now. I really enjoyed it. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a fun watch. You know, not as good as other 80s movies, Weird Science, Breakfast Club, you know, all that kind of stuff, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller, but nonetheless, still an entertaining movie, enjoyable, laughed out loud, 3.5 out of 5 on Valley Girl. The next title here is just something I've been wanting to rewatch for a while. Bridget and I have both seen it, and we're kind of just looking for something easy to put on TV and watch, and that is The Wedding Ringer, starring Kevin Hart, Josh Gad, and Kaley Cuoco. Just an R-rated comedy about Josh Gad, who's getting married to Kaley Cuoco. He doesn't really have any friends because he basically moved around a lot when he was younger. And then his career kind of like became his friends and his life and consumed him. So he finds out about this guy, Kevin Hart's character, who he can hire to be his best man and get a group of guys to be his groomsmen. But he's trying to pull off something that's called the, oh man, it's called the golden something. Anyway, he's trying to pull off this thing where he has to basically pull together not only a best man, but like 6 groomsmen. It's called the golden blank. You guys, I'm sure, leave comments. I'll look after I'm done this video and slap myself in the head. And the movie is pretty funny. There's a few sequences. There's a bachelor party that takes place in the movie. And then that results in like a scene with a dog that kind of like seem unrealistic. Plus there's stuff like Bridget and I were talking about with the Kelly Cuoco's grandmother that just seems ridiculous for the sake of being ridiculous. But everything else in the movie I find to be very amusing, very kind of realistic almost. And, you know, I thought the movie's pretty good, even with those couple really unfunny, forced bits. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's a fun watch. Staying on the shelf. And next, we're almost done, guys. I think we only got 3 more movies to talk about. The next thing we watched was a first-time watch for me, a movie that a lot of people have regarded as a great film. It has a Criterion release. I just have the standard Blu-ray. And that is Michael Douglas and Sean Penn in The Game. I really didn't know a lot about it, and that's the perfect way to go into a movie like this. You know, Michael Douglas was fantastic in the movie. He's a businessman who basically kind of poo-poos everyone, shoves everyone off to the side. It's all about him. He's focused on his job. His brother, Sean Penn, gives him a game for his birthday, and he has to go to this building, sign up for the game, and basically Michael Douglas's character doesn't know if he's really experiencing stuff, if it's in his head, and the craziness that you know, happens from a result of that. David Fincher directed this movie, which I didn't realize until after I was looking up about the movie after I watched it. And of course, David Fincher usually knocks it out of the park. Social Network, Fight Club, Gone Girl, I mean, so many others. David Fincher is a great director, and this was no different. The ending is a bit too convenient, in my opinion. However, I was guessing throughout the movie. It was suspenseful, and I enjoyed it, and it was a fun ride. I give this a 4 out of 5. I definitely enjoyed it. Would definitely dive into this again. Next was another first-time watch for both Bridget and myself. A movie a lot of people said was one of their favorites of 2019 that we just missed in theaters. And that is Dr. Sleep here on beautiful 4K. We watched the theatrical version, which is 2.5 hours. I wanted to watch the one that was in theaters. I know the director's cut's about 3 hours. And Dr. Sleep was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well acted in, well directed. Ewan McGregor was great as Danny Torrance, the lead actor, the kid from The Shining. But the third act of this film is fantastic. The first 2 acts can be a little meandery, but still all worth the journey. But the third act in this movie that takes place in a certain location is just phenomenal. The way it's shot, the detail to that location was fantastic. And then the girl who plays Abra, who's the little girl who's in all the trailers, this girl right here on the cover, was played by Kylie Curran, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Phenomenal. She was a fantastic performance. She gives a fantastic performance in this film. She was great in the movie. She had great chemistry with Ewan McGregor. She just owned the screen whenever she was on it. And for a child actor that hasn't been in anything really, she stole this movie in my opinion. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed Dr. Sleep. Would definitely recommend it. If you're a fan of The Shining, if you like Stephen King movies, it was a great film. Then the last thing we watched, Got it from DVD.com. It's been something I don't want to say I've wanted to watch. It's something I've been curious to see. Had no interest in it when it came out in movies, but based on everything I heard about it, all the reviews, Seth Rogen tweeting about the movie, we needed to see Cats. And boy, oh boy, spoiler alert, if this doesn't win Hot Trash of the Month by the end of next video, I'd be shocked. This movie, it started out, and it's a musical. There's tons of songs in the movie, probably like 25 to 30 songs in the movie. I would say about 20 to 25 of those songs are all about introducing characters, and most of those characters, you see them in the song, they sing the song, and then they disappear or they add nothing to the story. This is a movie where I don't know if it's the source material of the musical or just the way the movie was done, but it leaves a lot of questions that need to be answered. What are Jellicle cats? Was it the Heaviside? Like, just not giving details. And what's the point of the movie? The point is there's no point, in my opinion. The music's okay, but it didn't really add that much to the movie. The CGI was distracting, horrible, distracting, horrible, terrible. It was bad. What else do I have? There's no plot in the movie. It's just, yeah, the Heaviside Layer, the Jellicle cats. The movie just felt like a giant mess, and yeah, I give it a half a star. Cats was horrible. I wouldn't recommend even renting it or wasting the hour and 45 minutes to watch it. It was brutal. But that's it, guys. That is everything I watched week 3 of April. Like I said, been watching a lot of stuff. I have some cool things to talk about for the last video coming out for the month of April with reviews. But yeah, that's it. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. Comment down below. I'll be sure to try to interact with everyone in the comments. Subscribe if you guys don't already. And then check out the description box down below where you can find links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What else is down there? My Amazon wishlist, letterbox where I rate and review all the movies I watch, my eBay page, email address, P.O. box, all that can be found down below. And that's it, guys. So as always, until next time, who's down to movie?